creepy, and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Don't negotiate salary, negotiate your career.
Why is that?
You go in asking for a higher salary. What did you just ask for? I want to get paid more and do the same amount of work. How does that sound to a boss?
It depends on the leverage that employee has. If someone comes and they're irreplaceable and they say, hey, I need XYZ or I will stop, there's going to be a point.
So what's your relationship if your irreplaceable employee threatens you like that? Salary pays your bills, it doesn't build your career. Walk into the boss's office and say, how can I be guaranteed to be involved in projects that are critical to our strategic future?
Ooh. No one, absolutely no one is irreplaceable.
Farmers in Thailand hire monkeys to pick coconuts. This provides jobs for the monkeys, helping them meet their basic needs. Every morning, the monkeys begin their work. Male monkeys climb trees, plucking fruit and easily moving from tree to tree, while female monkeys collect fruit from the ground. Once the coconuts are harvested, the monkeys also help by guarding them near the truck to prevent them from falling. After the coconuts are transported, the work is done for the day. The monkeys are paid with food and drinks, and they work with more energy after having juice during breaks. This skill is developed through training from a young age, and monkeys sometimes even compete in coconut picking contests to improve their abilities. Sometimes when the monkeys go on strike and refuse to work, the handlers will patiently persuade them. With their help, farmers can harvest coconuts more quickly and safely than if they were to do it themselves. The next time you drink coconut water, remember that your coconut might have been picked by a monkey.
In Bali, the monkey are lazy. Why? Oh, poor dog. Has anyone else noticed that some of the most neglected and abused dogs still have the capacity to trust and love? We don't deserve these earth angels.
Abu Dhabi wasn't supposed to be the capital city of the UAE. The permanent capital city was supposed to be Al Karama, which was meant to be a city between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but it was never built. The way I found out about this was because of the landline numbers. 02 is for Abu Dhabi, 03 Alain, 04 Dubai. But then I was like, what is 01 for? And I realized that was actually for the capital city, which was supposed to be Al Karama.
Does the UAE government know that?
Here are 5 cars that won't even make it to 100,000 miles without having major issues. Please avoid these cars unless you have the money to fix them. First up, we got a Range Rover. The lifespan on these things is probably like 100,000 miles max on the motor, trans, and everything on it. These cars are horrible and horrible to work on. Next up, we got the Jeep Renegade. These things should be classified as trash. I should have included the Compass and the newer Grand Cherokees, but this one's the worst. Horrible drivetrain, everything's plastic, and it's made by Jeep. You can't get much worse than that. Next up, we got the BMW X3. I fixed so many of these, it's actually insane. Nothing really major breaks on these, but everything around the motor and trans breaks. It's all plastic. You take it apart, it probably breaks. It's a nightmare to work on, and they're expensive to fix. And all these issues happen at like 60,000 miles. Next up, we got the Ford EcoSport. Probably should name it the Eco Shit, because this is definitely Ford's like worst vehicle they've ever made. Just major drivetrain issues. And to be honest, it's hideous. I mean, next up, we got the Nissan Sentra or Versa. Same shitty ass transmissions that come in them. If you don't service them, they'll literally blow up. way before 100,000 miles. You get a manual trans in these, then it's a good car.
My Lamborghini, what I meant to say is my 2017 Toyota Corolla, still running smooth.
Jay-Z is facing calls to confirm the paternity of his illegitimate son in another legal blow to the rapper. Rymir Satterthwaite has been in a decade-long fight to prove that Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, is his biological father. Satterthwaite now claims Carter's legal team acted fraudulently during previous attempts for him to take a paternity test. His mother, Wanda, died in 2019 and alleged that she and Carter conceived Rymir when she was 16 in 1992. Jay-Z would have been 22 at the time. According to Satterthwaite, Jay-Z has never written to him to deny or acknowledge paternity.
The heck kind of Game of Thrones name is Rymir Satterthwaite?
Well, 2 customers at Subway say there wasn't tuna in their tuna sandwich, and they are suing the sandwich shop. So we did our own test to see what's between the bread.
It's the largest sandwich maker in the USA.
Subway, eat fresh.
An estimated 6 million sandwiches a day. In a startling lawsuit, 2 customers in California claim that the tuna sandwich does not contain tuna or have any ingredient that constitutes tuna.
What?
No tuna in the tuna? Subway customers coast to coast want to know what's going on.
That's insane. I mean, no tuna in a tuna fish sandwich? That's odd.
How could you not have tuna in tuna?
We bought the tuna at 3 Subway locations in Queens, New York.
Where does it say tuna?
And there, in black and white, it says the ingredients are tuna, water, and salt. Our next step was sending the samples to Applied Food Technologies. The lab, based in Florida, specializes in DNA testing of fish.
Did the tuna in the tuna sandwiches that we tested actually contain tuna?
My favorite part when she told us whether or not it had tuna.
He's 6'8", I think might be 6'9", 465 pounds, trim. He's squatting a car in the Brian Shaw Classic. He squatted 720 pounds 13 times in under a minute. He picked up a Thomas Inch barbell. He was playing basketball. And he was just walking around like a giant guy. And you know what the Thomas Inch is? It's a circus trick. Like, nobody can do it. You have to pinch the barbell and lift it up. Like, everybody who's strong tries to do it. You can't do it. It's 1 in like 100 million people can do it. And he walked over and goes, I don't know, what is this? And they go, that's a Thomas Inch. Try to pick it up. Nobody can do it all day. And he goes, okay. And just pinched and went, this? And the guy goes, do you know what you just did? He goes, no.
This is before you start training?
Yes, sir. He's playing with the idea of arm wrestling, and Levant, the greatest guy of all time, he sent him a funny video going, Brian, we don't need you in the arm wrestling division. He's so ridiculously strong.
You know Haftor? He's taller, stronger, and actually lean.
Good morning, Patriots. I have a scorching new update on DJ Khaled. I know people like to say I'm saying it wrong. Khaled. We got another one. We the best. No, you're not. It's crazy. There is literally a video online. I'm not spreading any misinformation. Go look at the video for yourself. DJ Khaled is brushing his teeth, right? He's brushing his teeth. He's got his hands down. Diddy comes, puts his hand on his shoulder, right? Khaled, you know, you bend down and you're brushing your teeth. Okay, Diddy's right here behind you. And Khaled goes, man, you're making me nervous. You're making me nervous like you're going to pop me up another one. We the best. He's like he says he's nervous. And then Diddy goes, oh, okay, yeah. Thank God for editing. They both thank God for editing. They go, yeah, we can cut that out. We'll cut that out. They didn't cut it out because the clip is raw. It's online. You can see it. I don't make the news. I break the news, Patriots. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody out there. I'm just a guy like you trying to keep you guys informed so you don't have to waste your time on TikTok researching because Samson does it for you. All I'm saying, Samson, go check out the tape for yourself. Why does it make you nervous to bend over to brush your teeth in front of the diddler? Is it because he filled your trunk? That's what he said. Those are Diddy's words. It is a quote. Yeah, he filled his trunk. He filled his trunk. Go check out my other video. All I gotta say, there's junk in the trunk, man. We the best at filling trunks is what the slogan is, I guess. We got another one, Samson. Please support me, Patriots. It's not safe for me to be talking like this. Do you understand? They're trying to limit me. But you, the people, are lifting me up. Get me to 100,000 followers and then 5 million, and we will sell out every stadium throughout this world, and I will preach this good message of love, happiness, health, light, love. Samson for president.
I remember how proud DJ Khaled was to say that, he never goes down on his wife. Now I know it's because he prefers Diddler.
I would rather be in the woods than having to pay rent every single month for the rest of my life and not actually get to live. I would rather be out here in nature where it's free, where I can do what I want. God, he put us into this world. We didn't ask to be here. So if we didn't ask to be here, why should we have to pay? Explain it to me so I can better understand it. But I've been stuck in this matrix for too long. As soon as I was able to work, I've been working. I don't think any job can get me rich. I don't even want to be rich. I just want to be comfortable.
Being rich is being free. People work and work to pay rent and they never even home.
So the drones are coming from the inside of the ocean.
After seeing 50 of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
50. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer?
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat, and then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
I see one right here. Did I see the same thing that officer saw? I'm still not sure. What I can show you is this video. What I can tell you is I've never seen anything like it before. Wow. In more than a month since these reports started, the federal government...
Nothing to do with the drones or UFO. Sitting for Blue Beam Project.
My blood loose tonight and I need my wax done. And now you're telling me...
Disclaimer, this is nasty.
...that you can't do my wax because of a funky issue.
I'm actually a CNA as well, and that is not just an odor. That's actually an infection.
Excuse me?
That's an infection.
I told you I just went to the gym.
It's a very uncomfortable conversation for me. I'm not your primary
You
care.
don't go to the gym. I can tell by your body type.
Excuse me,
you haven't
I
seen
am
a
not
gym.
going to accept insults.
That's crazy.
You
man.
couldn't waterboard that information out of me. The way I would have prayed that the ground would open up and swallow me whole before I jumped on the World Wide Web to tell everybody that my hoo-ha was questionable? No, ma'am. People are so interested in trying to get a viral moment that you don't realize the person that you're shaming may actually be you. Instead of you doing what most people would do, which is hang their head in shame, gather up their things and whatever dignity they still have on that table and scurry out of there. She handled you with all the professionalism that she possibly could muster up, but you can't force her to work on you when she told you she's uncomfortable. She wasn't being rude, you were being rude for pulling out your camera and trying to intimidate her. She was actually being a girl's girl and giving you the heads up that you may have an active infection rather than you saying, you know what, you're a nurse, let me look into that. You'd rather say, I don't care what's going on, just do my wax. She does this for a living, so I know she's handled different stints before, but there is a reason why she's rejecting you. I'm sure she would have given you a full refund, so it's not about the money. Maybe there's some truth to what she's saying. Have you ever consider that?
I would give the wax girl all the money I have and beg her not to tell anyone ever. After that, I'm going to leave town forever.
If you have to take your phone from room to room, no matter where you go, you probably have a problem. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to the person sitting next to you, you probably have a problem. I just want to show you something. This is the psychological power of the device. What if I was sitting here talking to you holding my phone? It's not buzzing, it's not beeping, no one's calling me, I'm just holding it. Do you feel like you are the most important thing to me right now? No, you don't. So when we show up for a meeting, or we sit down for dinner with our families, and we put the phone on the table, it sends a psychological message to everyone sitting there that you are not the most important thing to me right now. And putting the phone upside down is not more polite. Put it in airplane mode to take away the temptation that something's coming in, and put it in a bag out of sight. This is how we should be interacting with people, giving them our full attention.
We need to give full attention to God by reading the Bible, or at least thanking Him every morning we wake up, for He, life giver.
What happened with your wife?
To make a long story short, she dumped me for a super rich Israeli guy after also 22 years.
What's the reason you think she dumped you for the other guy?
She became money hungry. For example, when we traveled economically, with this guy, she travels first class. So yeah, money talks, I guess. My kids, her kids, friends, it was a shock for everybody when she decided that no, she wants to hook up with this guy who was, by the way, married.
Did she tell you that she was gonna leave and go with this guy, or did she cheat on you?
At the time, she cheated. So I said, well, as far as I'm concerned, the marriage is over. There's no more trust. So I filed for divorce.
Did she wanna make things get better, or was she done?
She really wanted to separate. So I told her, well, what planet you living on? Just want to separate. And then if you decide with this rich guy to come back to me, I should accept you. It's not going to happen. Not on planet Earth.
Was it hard for you that she did that?
Yeah, in the beginning, it came as a shock, just like to everybody else. But you have to face reality. There's going to be people better looking, richer, smarter, and whatever you happen to be, accept it and make the best of it.
Just remember, she is never yours. It is just your turn.
We got a $30,000 cleaning contract from the landlord and my team was excited until I saw the condition of the house. The smell of smoke hit me hard and I could barely breathe. I never imagined that a tenant could ruin a house just by smoking. There were stains all over the floor and thick yellow marks covered the walls. Even worse, some of the stains ended up on my head, sticky and with a foul odor. The landlord said the tenant was a young man who had worked in finance 25 years ago. At the time, he was wealthy, bringing home different girls every night. But after the 2008 financial crisis, he lost everything. The bankruptcy of his investment firm left him with nothing. He spent his days at home, smoking and drinking, and his life slowly became more depressed and miserable. I'm glad I didn't buy stocks back then. Otherwise, I might have found myself in the same situation today. Do you invest in stocks? How's it going for you now? Can you recommend any stocks?
$30 grand for cleaning? Let me do it. Let me do it.
This woman was married to a TikTok serial killer for 7 years, but now she's turning back to TikTok for help. You see, this is her ex, Kareem Salim. But before he became known as the New Cairo Butcher, he was a TikToker with over 600,000 followers teaching people American slang. But then, in May this year, he was arrested for the murder of multiple women in Egypt, and a few months later was found guilty and sentenced to death. This case was huge in Arab media due to how shocking the crimes were. Investigators found that he had soundproofed his apartment so that when he tortured his victims, no one would hear them scream. It was so gruesome that when videos which he would record himself were played in court, his entire defense team of 5 lawyers immediately withdrew from the case and apologized to the judge for ever representing him. And I'm skimming over this, but it's like Ray William Johnson next video kinda bad. Anyway, his ex-wife, who had a child with Kareem but had been separated for the past 3 years, claimed that she had to go into hiding and flee to the UK because he tried to kill her and her sister multiple times. But then just yesterday in a TikTok, she said that Kareem had taken her son and he's now with Kareem's mother either in Egypt or America. So she's desperately trying to raise awareness so she can find him and be reunited. And if you want more details, I've tagged her profile below.
Is bro Dexter Morgan? Oh.
What you're seeing there is not linguine. You're actually seeing broad tapeworms, essentially tapeworms that occur because patients are eating undercooked fish that has been infested with these tapeworms. The crazy thing about these tapeworms is that they could actually grow up to 30 feet in length, and typically they are found in undercooked fish because the reason for that is because these adult tapeworms, they go and develop inside fish eating mammals. So that's why it's important that if you're a big fish eater, you got to make sure that your fish is well cooked. You're not getting it at a sketchy restaurant. You got to make sure that you cook it at home properly. And number 1 is to make sure that you're using appropriate hygiene when you're cleaning these type of fishes. There's been cases of tapeworms actually going not only in the colon, but also going in the liver, going in other organs, including the brain.
Yes. I thought that was fettuccine Alfredo.
Don't show yourself too much in social media. How much you earn, with who you sleep, where you travel, what you eat in what restaurants. This all must be private. If you have something to say in social media, say something what can help to someone. Showing and making noise with your organs will only attract the bad eye. I know someone who have lost everything. I mean, not just go to the zero, but went to the minus multiple millions euros in a day because he showed everything, all his private life. And this is what he paid. So I said it.
Nowadays, the more you show on social media, the more you earn.
A popular travel mug is being recalled by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The recall affects 2.6 million Stanley Switchback mugs in the 12 and 16-ounce sizes. It also includes the Stanley Trigger Action stainless steel mug in the 12, 16, and 20-ounce sizes. The recalled travel mugs' lids can detach during use, resulting in burn injuries. Consumers should stop using them and contact Stanley for a free replacement lid. This affects mugs sold from June 16th through this month.
Video says Stanley, and then the second part and shows Yeti.
The New York CEO who had his Lamborghini pooped in by his employees after he canceled their Christmas bonuses has just learned that they have all resigned. Literally every employee from the sales staff to the shipping department emailed in their resignation to the CEO at the same time. The former employees are saying that the business will now grind to a halt as no customer will be receiving their orders in time for Christmas or their orders at all. While a few of the employees did take other jobs, the rest of the crew is sticking around, pooling their savings, and they're going to start the exact same company without a D-bag at the top. The CEO is in panic mode and he's putting up these job postings trying to fill these vacant positions, but all he's getting back are these AI-generated resumes that these old employees are pushing towards him to waste his time so that he can't actually fill the positions. The sales staff is confident that they'll be able to bring all the clients from the old company to the new company and leave the CEO with zero revenue, which will effectively make him unemployed. And then he'll have to sell his Lamborghini, but nobody really knows what the resale market is on a pooped-in Lamborghini.
Michael Scott, paper company.
I've always been drawn to this idea of the stillness that comes from being halfway between two worlds. Something sacred about this image of emerging. In this case, I create a portrait with charcoal on the ice, a figure scarred from life and emerging like a baptism, a renewal, a reminder that wherever you're at, even in the coldest, most frozen places, there's a potential to start again, to emerge into a new life.
Now this is art, not people throwing buckets of paint on a canvas.
Former straight-A student clawed her own eyes out during a drugs overdose. 20-year-old Kaylee Muthart fell in with the wrong crowd after leaving school, leading her to drug abuse, a mental breakdown, and finally a disturbing act of self-harm. Just days before going to rehab, Kaylee took a larger dose of meth than she normally would and was hallucinating for hours. During her trip, a friend she'd been staying with told her they'd locked up the house and asked if she had a spare key. In Kaylee's mind, being locked out was a sign that her sacrifice was the key to saving the world. She said she thought everyone would die if I didn't tear out my eyes immediately. So she gripped each eyeball, twisted, and pulled until each eye popped out. The drug she had taken numbed the pain. Doctors performed emergency surgery to fully remove what was left of her eyes, but Kaylee must now wear prosthetics for the rest of her life.
Imagine watching someone do that in front of you.
Do you know anybody that drinks one of these a day? Hold on, wait till you see this, because I think this will convince them how bad it really is, and you're going to need to send this video to them. If you drink one of these a day for 7 days, this is how much sugar you're ingesting. Okay, that's ridiculous. 273 grams. That's just one a day. Now wait, catch this. If you drink one a day for a month, I can hardly lift it. That's how many pounds of sugar. I think it's 4 pounds of sugar that you're ingesting with one a month. You know, here's the sad reality. Most people, they're doing 2 or 3 3 of these a day. So that pile would look like this. Okay, here's the problem. We know this is a big cause of diabetes, and now it's estimated that over 90% of the population has prediabetes, and most people don't know it. You know what kills you? Not diabetes. It's the heart attacks, the strokes, and all the conditions that go along with diabetes, even cancer. If you're ingesting this type of sugar, that's exactly where we could be headed.
What about Coke Zero?
This is shocking, okay? And I'm not the only person who feels this way. This was happening at Langley a month ago, okay? These people are not crazy. They're seeing these things with their own eyes. This is not normal behavior. They are not planes that are coming in one direction and they're heading into Newark Airport and then they're landing, okay? We spend $824 billion on defense. We have the greatest intelligent capability in the world. So how can you stand there and say to the country right now, gosh darn, we just don't know what these are?
Because I'm not going to lie to you or to the American people, and I'm not going to say we know something when we don't. And we would never, ever stoop to think that an American citizen was crazy or nuts because of what they're seeing and what they're documenting. We're taking that imagery seriously, and we're doing the best we can to analyze it, and we encourage people to come forward if they have additional sightings and imagery. We want to do the best we can to triangulate it, but I'll be gosh darn if I'm going to stand up here and make up stuff that I don't know to be true.
We don't want you to make up anything. Do you know and you can't say? Can you tell me that?
No, I'm telling you, Martha, I'm telling you, we don't.
You don't know.
We can't corroborate every single sighting. Some of them we have, not all of them, and we're working hard to do that.
They shot down a weather balloon with military-grade weapons, yet they let the drones fly.
Your body is begging for vitamin B12 if you have the following: mental conditions like depression, bipolar, or even schizophrenia. Cognitive issues like Alzheimer's or dementia, because a B12 deficiency can mimic those diseases. A loss of smell and taste. If you have burning in your mouth or your tongue, suspect a B12 deficiency. If you have unexpected sudden blurred vision, and if you have balance problems, suspect a B12 deficiency. But always make sure you take the natural version of B12, which is called methylcobalamin, not the cyanocobalamin.
I'm so tired of buying vitamins and find out it's the wrong ingredient. It is like movies. Aliens only see USA.
It is very reversible for a while. Let's be clear and honest about this. There is absolutely no doubt that what doctors learn in medical school is wrong. We are told, and I know because I was told, that diabetes is a chronic, progressive, unrelenting disease that never gets better, and that you will need medication, whether it be insulin or oral hypoglycemics or whatever, for the rest of your life. Garbage. Total, complete trash. Bird Health, numerous other studies of various diets show that you can absolutely reverse type 2 diabetes. In order to do so, you have to get the pancreas to make insulin properly. And the only way to do that is to get the liver to respond to insulin properly. One way is to not challenge the liver. Give the liver a rest. Well, it's metabolizing all that refined carbohydrate and sugar. Drop the refined carbohydrate and sugar and make your liver work better.
Little keto?
A ketogenic diet's the extreme version of this. It's not the only way, but it is a way. Paleo diet is another version.
Fasting?
Intermittent fasting will give your liver a chance to burn off the fat that's accumulated over the last 16 hours. There are many ways to skin this cat.
Calorie counting?
Almost never.
Calorie restriction?
Yes, calorie restriction. But it's got to be consistent and long-term. And we've shown, numerous studies have shown, that as you restrict calories, that leptin resistance does not get better quickly. It takes years for that leptin resistance to finally go away. 5 years before you change the set point.
Type 2, yes. Type 1, doubtful. But let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
Liars typically accidentally use the question inflection. A question inflection is when we go up at the end of our sentence, so it sounds like we're asking a question, even if we're actually using a statement. If we are listening to someone and we hear them accidentally use the question inflection, our brain goes from listening to scrutinizing. Why? Our brain wonders, why did you ask me that? If I say to my daughter, did you take the cookie in the cookie jar? And she goes, no. Liars are asking, do you believe this? We did a massive experiment in our lab where we had people play 2 truths and a lie with us. Overwhelmingly, one of the biggest patterns, there's a couple of different patterns, but one of the biggest ones was that liars asked their lie statement.
I tell the truth, even when I lie. Tony Montana.
I'm really shocked that Tucker Carlson is saying things like this.
Just can't believe that in the end, when it really gets intense, as it is now, that it's Christians, it's people who actually believe the Bible are the only ones with wisdom who understand what's really going on. They're not shocked at all. They're not panicked either. Get it? It's so interesting. That itself is a biblical principle. The last shall be first. The humble among you will be exalted. Everything's the opposite of what you thought it was. Even if you're not a Christian, which I think you should be, because it's true. But even if you're not, you can acknowledge, just having lived here for a while, that is absolutely the way things work.
It's true though. When you know how the story ends, you got nothing to be afraid of. You can actually be in peace. You can worry about nothing, and you can pray about everything. If you're grateful that Jesus is the reason why you can be at peace, type amen in the comments and click follow or subscribe for more.
Amen. We have the Holy Spirit who lives inside us.
Happy people don't attack you. It's almost physically impossible. They're not saying anything bad. They're not thinking anything bad. They're not acting on anything to hurt you. Now, when you're laughing and happy, if somebody attacks you, it's for one reason. They are not happy with themselves. It has nothing to do with you.
Happy people, let's gather here.
If the earth were flat, what's stopping all the water from spilling off the edges? The idea of ships falling into some void sounds ridiculous, right? But that's exactly the image people push when they mock the flat earth theory. Therefore, what if I told you that this whole falling off the edge idea is just a distraction? There's another explanation that actually makes a lot more sense. Picture this, a massive frozen barrier surrounding the world, keeping the oceans in place. I know it sounds wild, but it's not a new idea. Therefore, it's worth exploring. Ice walls have been depicted in maps for over 1,000 years. One of the earliest examples comes from the 11th century, drawn by the famous scholar Al-Biruni. At the time, it wasn't controversial, it was just part of how the world was understood. But fast forward to today, and we've been taught something very different. The same maps that used to show the Earth as flat with ice walls have been rebranded as projections of a spherical Earth. Therefore, we need to ask, could these maps hold some truth? You've probably heard of the azimuthal equidistant map, right? It shows the world as a flat circle with the North Pole in the center. Modern cartographers claim it's just a flattened version of the globe, but what if it's actually the opposite? What if the globe model was reverse engineered from the original flat map? Therefore, consider this. If ice walls have been acknowledged in maps for over a millennium, why aren't they talked about more today? Why aren't we exploring these ancient depictions and asking whether they might hold some truth? Maybe the idea of ice walls isn't so far-fetched after all. Antarctica, still largely unexplored, is the perfect candidate for a natural barrier that keeps the world's oceans in check. Here's a fun example. Next time you're on a plane, notice how far Antarctica seems and how it's not part of most commercial flight paths. But what if that's because it's not just some remote frozen continent? Therefore, it could be the very thing holding our world together. It's hard to say for sure, but the idea of these ice walls is worth thinking about, especially when ancient maps point to their existence.
Go read Genesis 1 and it'll answer your question.
Never see a situation as hopeless. Your own weakness can become strength with clever manipulation.
The person I used to illustrate it is Napoleon Bonaparte, who was a grand counterattacker. That was his favorite strategy in life. And Napoleon was a very weird character. He actually loved bad situations. He almost had a way of putting himself deliberately in situations that were very adverse, where everything was against him, because his whole mind would rise to the occasion. And his philosophy was, anything negative, anything bad happening to you contains the seeds of a turnaround. You can turn it around into something positive. This could be the fact that your opponent in the battle is suddenly getting a little bit aggressive and carried away and arrogant. You can use their arrogance to turn it around. I think this is sort of a beautiful philosophy in life, if you will.
God got my back. I never feel alone or helpless.
This is truly incredible. Watch this.
A drogue stone was used to balance ships in bad weather, and they found them in the Mediterranean, they found them in the Nile. They were used all over in ancient ships in the ancient world. Well, the Ark would have had these balancing stones bigger than any drogue stones in history. And Tony, they have found 26 of them. And if you follow them, you come to understand that as the ark began to slow and the water began to go down, Noah and his boys began to cut those stones. And if you follow them like breadcrumbs, they lead you all the way to where the ark is right now. You can follow those stones and you can see how they sailed right up to that current location. Maybe you've heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was a real ancient king, and Gilgamesh said in his epic that he went to see the builder of the ark, and he described the location. He said there was a Saddleback mountain. He called it the place of the rising of the sun. And he said just below those mountain peaks was the first settlement where the builder of the ark settled with his family.
Follow or subscribe to see much more.
They could just take your whole life away and there's nothing you can do about it. Dating this girl, I told her, let's take your car. I was like, because I get pulled over. And she didn't believe me. She thought I was full of shit. I'm like, listen, I get hassled. Even though I'm doing nothing wrong, I get hassled. So we take my car. I had a Mercedes C63 AMG. The LA County Sheriff's coming this way. I seen him look through his window, look at me, and then flip around. We're getting pulled over and we're gonna get searched. Literally, we got pulled over. He pulls up behind me. I roll all 4 windows down at once, just so he's not sketchy, just so he can see in the car and see that it's just me and my girl. I have my license and registration ready for him. He comes up to the window. I hand it to him. He says, I didn't ask for that. He grabbed it out of my hand. He threw it on the dash. He says, I didn't ask for that. He says, are you on parole or probation? I says, no. He's like, do you have anything in the car? Any weapons? Or I says, no. He says, well, I'm searching. And he just pulls my door open. He says, step out of the vehicle. While he's pulling me out, he searched me. He says, what gang were you in prison? Puts me in handcuffs, puts me in the back of his cop car. I've done nothing wrong. I'm not on probation. I'm not a dealer. I'm not a gangbanger. I don't have guns on me. He got me in the back of the cop car. I'm leaning up and like, listen, you got the wrong guy.
So why haven't you sued?
The biggest names in the world are flying down to Mar-a-Lago to break bread with Trump.
Jeff Bezos called me. We're having dinner. As you know, Mark Zuckerberg came in. We had a really nice dinner. He asked to have dinner. I had dinner with him. I'm having dinner with everybody. People like me now. It's something going on that people. I said, would you have come to dinner with me if I lost? I think the answer is no. I said nicely, kiddingly, of course, because I don't want to sound foolish. But I say jokingly, would you have been here at dinner if I lost? And the answer was probably not. Look, I'm getting called by everybody. It's very interesting. It's different than the first. When I won the first time, I wasn't nearly as popular as this.
Billionaires are fighting to be Trump's best friend. Elon Musk, first place already. The rumor is that Musk is looking to buy a $100 million penthouse in West Palm Beach. Right now, we're hearing he's crashing at a villa at the club. The business community wants influence because Trump's about to turbocharge the economy. Quote, any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approvals and permits. Get ready to rock. It's going to be a good 4 years for America, but first Trump needs to get some of our allies in check.
Because they know he's going to change the world. And if they aren't involved, they will fall behind.
In podcasts, I have been noted as saying it's quite possible in maybe 3 podcasts.
Jesus wasn't crucified.
Never got crucified. It's quite possible that Jesus never died, that he may have been married. And his Merovingian bloodline could still be on the planet till this very day. These guys are jumping up and down over there. Oh my goodness, we gotta debunk it. We gotta. Go ahead and do what you gotta do. Listen, man, I'm the king. I'm the GOAT, okay?
He's the GOAT, guys. He's the GOAT. He seems to be watering down the things he said on prior podcasts, because what I remember is him saying, we discovered a gospel, the gospel of Jesus' wife, that shows that he did. And now he's like, well, I only said it could be the case. He really seems to just be backtracking, gaslighting, watering down what he said when this just isn't the case.
Yeah, I mean, that whole theory comes from the book Holy Blood and Holy Grail, which is capitalized on by Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code. But neither of those are historical sources. They're modern fiction. If you're relying on those for the bloodline of Jesus, you're not doing research. You're studying fictional novels.
Hey, Billy got his story from the Da Vinci Code.
Do you guys remember that story from Isaiah where the Assyrian army was marching to Jerusalem and God said that I will not let them enter Jerusalem, and he sent an angel, came down and killed the entire army? Thus said the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into the city or shoot an arrow there or come before it with a shield or cast up a siege mound against it. By the way he shall return, and he shall not come into the city, declares the Lord. For I will defend the city to save it for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David. And an angel of the Lord went down and struck down 185,000 in the camp of the Assyrians. Apparently just found proof of that battle.
No way.
This archaeologist, he went and he found this old ancient Assyrian coin looking thing. And basically what it was a layout for an army and like what mountain peaks that they're at and stuff. And he's like, oh, this matches what I've seen in this one region, but no one had explored or dug or lived in this region for thousands of years. And so he went there and did pictures and stuff, and sure enough, it matched up exactly where this battle would have taken place.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There is a reason almost every Assyrian life now is Christian.
Strong people are only strong because they've gone through shit that has forced them to be overly independent. Because they've learned through experience that they can't count on anyone else. Hard times create a strong person.
That's why you're so strong. It's not a compliment.
But there is a special, do you want to explain the special about melanin and how it protects the cell, the DNA inside the nucleus? That's very important.
Part of the reason you can't do these experiments, where there's a lot of melanin around, the melanin actually in a lot of people, in black people it's actually spread out through the skin. It spreads out through the cells and covers everything from the actions of the ultraviolet light.
But there's no doubt in people with higher melanin, natural higher melanin, that it's far more likely that that melanin will be coating the nucleus, the cell wall of the nucleus of the DNA. Now the point about that is that ultraviolet light, which is often used to splice DNA, is blocked by that melanin. It absorbs it. It doesn't allow it in to interfere with the DNA. And it could well be, and this is Nigel's thesis, that this was a blocker for them when they were trying to genetically alter the species. And therefore, when maybe just out of random mutation, something like an albino came along, they discovered, wow, we can get straight in. Right. And it may well be that the paler-skinned nation, people on the Earth, maybe have that pale skin because of this genetic experimentation to make things easier for them to work on human DNA. And in fact, Professor Steve Jones argues that this thing about vitamin D being, paler skin being there to allow vitamin D to be absorbed and so on, all these theories about why pale skin happened in the first place, he believes it's not an adequate explanation. There is no real explanation or justification for the need for pale skin at all.
Yeah, because I think if
dark skin is always an advantage in every circumstance.
Right, because most people would just automatically assume, well, they went to live in the north where there's less sun,
yes,
so therefore their skin changed colour. But that's not the case.
According to Professor Steve Jones, an eminent professor of biology, that is absolute nonsense.
Right. Okay.
There's just no reason at all for pale skin.
You would want to absorb more light, and why did we lose hair if we came to a colder climate, etc. Yeah. So obviously something's wrong with that idea. Right. All right. And Nigel contends that the white races, the northern European races, have probably had the most interference from this outside entity called the grey alien.
Yeah, and he doesn't say that. It's very important to say he doesn't say that from the point of view of a kind of reverse racism.
Right.
It's just he's letting us know that, right, that's there, you may need to do something about it, right, and maybe suggesting ways that we could do something about it. And if you look at the record of the European nations throughout history, in terms of colonialism, imperialism, and what they've the havoc they've wreaked on the world, makes the point
that
really.
It's the blue-eyed white races that have got their finger on the nuclear. Well, I mean, what about China? Because he mentions the Chinese as well, doesn't he? He says that they've had significant intervention. Am I right there?
That's right. Yes, there's been interception all across the board. They found ways of doing it, but the most efficient way to do it is on cell nucleuses that aren't protected by the melanin shield. Right. That's just the most efficient, easiest way to do it.
We are the children of the Most High.
There are two possibilities. Either I'm the first ever agent that wholeheartedly believes in Jesus Christ, or I went down a million rabbit holes and realized that at the bottom of every rabbit hole, it's just to hide God. It's just to cover up that the Bible is real. And if people that are at the highest levels in this world understand that Jesus is real, the Bible is real and is accurate, and that they're trying their absolute hardest to make it seem like it's fake, common sense would tell you that Jesus Christ is real. The Bible is real.
Amen.
Anytime I make videos about things, I show the research. Like I screenshot things as I'm going, or I tell you where I know it from. I understand that it's not the norm to see a young woman in this space, but I'm just making content about things that genuinely interest me. Or I'm just a government plant trying to get you to believe in your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And yes, I said your, because he is my God, but he is also everybody's God.
Amen.
If you choose not to believe that, that's on you.
I'm okay with being crazy for Christ's name's sake.
Every person you meet carries a piece of you with them. Someone is still using the phrases and words you used. Someone is still telling jokes. They learn from you. Someone believes in friendship because they met you. Someone still smiles when they remember a moment with you. Someone is still listening to the music you showed them. Someone still remembers a compliment you gave them and it boosts their self-confidence. Someone admires you from afar and is inspired by you. Someone learned how to love from you. Someone is still encouraged by the advice you gave them. Someone has faith in your generation. Because of you, the world needs you. You may not always see it, but your presence changes lives.
I don't care if this is AI, it's inspiring.
This exact thing made me a flat earther. I was on a plane that needed to do an emergency landing. So I was taking a flight from Portugal to New York City. So Portugal is right about here. New York City would be right about here. A guy on our plane had a medical emergency. We had to make an emergency landing. On the back of every seat, they had these screens where you could watch the little airplane like as it's flying. So we're like right about here at this point. And when they announced the emergency landing, they did like a sharp turn and went all the way up here to St. John's in Canada, and everybody was like, why are we doing that? Like, that's going to take so much longer. Like, he needs help, because they thought he had like a stroke or something. The way it looked on the screen, you would have thought it was like a 90-degree angle, but the plane didn't turn at all. I started researching how or like why this was. I stumbled upon a flat earth map. Portugal is about right here. St. John's is right here. And I realized that's why it just showed like a 90-degree angle turn, and the plane didn't turn at all. And then I started looking at other emergency flight landing paths. That is the fastest way to become a flat earther, is just looking at emergency flight paths. There is not one that makes sense on the globe, and there's not one that doesn't make sense on the flat earth map. Also, if you guys didn't know, submarines use sonar that's based on flat earth. And pilot training manuals explicitly say to treat the earth as if it's a stationary flat plane. This is satire for entertainment only.
98% of the world's communication via internet or otherwise is through sea cables, not satellites. There's a lot of information that's very plain sighted.
Like the person you want to become. That's not fake it till you make it, by the way. This is intentional. Intentionally act like the person you want to become. Because when you intentionally act like the person you want to become, your brain sees you taking those actions, so your brain starts to change the way it relates to you. When your brain sees you high-fiving yourself in the mirror, it starts to go, oh, wait a minute, Stephen loves himself. Stephen's cheering for himself. We don't beat Stephen up.
Sounds easy, but extremely hard, especially after you are older and stuck in a rut.
Hear a voice on my right side. It says, look up. Very powerful voice. And I believe today it's the Holy Spirit. As I look up in my vision, I see the sky opening up, like heaven opening up. And I see a very bright light coming down. Changes shape to a shape of like a being, a man, with the left hand and right hand open up. And I thought to myself, this must be God. Face, the body shines like the sun. And the first word I heard is, do not be afraid. And then the second word is, remember this, I will walk in front of you for the rest of your life. And just these two words, that's the power of Jesus. Just two words, wake me up from my death. I woke up 7 days later. The brain surgeon came in. He came in and said, I got very good news for you, and I also got very bad news for you. The good news is all four of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, say you are dead and you wake up from your death. But I got bad news for you because I really taken out almost a quarter of your brain. It's not in your head anymore. Brain is gone. And he said, because you don't have that brain, from neck down, you will be a paraplegic, meaning person who cannot use his hand, cannot use his leg. No one can ever walk again without that part. There's no communication between your brain, your hand, and your leg. Give the sad news that you will live in this wheelchair for the rest of your life. Started questioning, how can I know this God? Because of the hunger he has put into my heart to know how awesome this God is, that he could wake me up when every doctor, 4 doctors confirm I'm dead. So I'm stuck in a wheelchair. Bible is put in front of me. I pray, Lord God, you know, I need to know you. There is no other way but through this Bible. Lead me and give me a way to be able to know you through these words in this Bible. Prayer work. It worked because only one small little finger here works. And that itself allowed me to turn the Bible from the beginning, Genesis, up to the end in Revelation. And my hunger to know this God was so strong. I finished the whole Bible in 30 days. When I close the Bible with this little pinky finger, as I close it, I see fire both on my leg, left leg and right leg, burning fire. When you see fire on your leg in a wheelchair, the natural reaction of human is to jump up. So I jump up of my wheelchair and I look left and right. So this God is giving me a message too, that because now that you know my word, healing words in the Bible, you now can stand. And I started walking very wobbly, like a baby, exactly like a baby, trembling in every step, but just continue trusting in God. That over days, I was able to walk. And then after that, I was able to run after a few weeks. After a month or 2, I can do ballroom dancing with my wife. And then after 6 months, I need to go for a checkup with this top brain surgeon. The doctor just looked at me and asked me, what happened to your wheelchair? It cannot be. You cannot be Tony. He said, I want to see you walk. And I walk from left to right. Every step I walk, I can see his face getting paler, paler, as white as a ghost. When I finish at the end, his jaw dropped on the floor. Because for the doctor, he's looking at the impossible. None of his patients could walk without that brain. And this is the power of our God. Even the brain surgeon, the one who cut my head and took out my brain, after my surgery, he has become a Christian. They can't deny the fact that your cancer has disappeared. Then you come to know our God is a living God called Jesus.
Praise the Lord. Impossible is impossible with God. I forgot who said that.
I was preaching in a Korean church in Dallas, Texas a few years ago. And after I preached there, I had lunch with a bunch of the leaders of that Korean church. And I said, you know, guys, I am so impressed with the vibrant Christian faith in Korea. They said, well, don't be too impressed because it's really cooling off. I said, why? And they said, for the same reason the church here in the United States is cooling off. Materialism. If you have all the money you need, you don't need God. And that's why Jesus said, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because I think money feeds my ego, my pride. It feeds my self-sufficiency, my feeling of autonomy. And I don't need you. I don't need God. I don't need anybody. I'm a self-sufficient, autonomous all-American.
There is nothing wrong with being successful, but we must realize it is through God's graces that we are blessed with what we are blessed with.
Y'all, I'm not even kidding. I'm getting a horrific vibe from this video right here. It's like you can feel it piercing your soul coming from the screen. Am I the only person? Because something about this feels so bad. Those who can catch what I'm throwing down will understand exactly what I'm saying. In TikTok, I did not say one word. And then again, right here. A terrific vibe, like really bad energy is coming straight through. By the way, the placement of the letters. Again, just showing you things, that's all. And right here, not related at all, not even a little bit. This guy came through and donated $1 million to the person that I just showed you. Again, completely unrelated. And that bell right there, I counted it, it went off 51 times. You know, 51 in Gematria is lamb. Do you want to know what else is lame? The demon that Aleister Crowley summoned that looks exactly like a Grey. I'm so done.
Nah, bro, you should be excited. The best yet to come.
This time I saw David Rockefeller, I rebelled, and then I was immediately tortured, was thrown in a cage in a dungeon and tortured for several days.
By him?
No, he never touched. He was always he watched, and he was there for some of it. He was verbally telling me that I was absolutely worthless. But Hans Harmsen came too. Basically, I was retrained for several days to make sure, that I would feel the lowest of the low, and that I was absolutely worthless, and anyway.
He's telling you this.
He told me that for sure, but also I was also tortured. And so he wasn't always there. He was there a few times, but he wasn't. And at the end of that couple of days, I was basically thrown back into the Belgian network, where I was used another year. And then my book actually speaks about the year after I've already been rejected from what I call the inner circle afterwards. And I ended up, there's this gangster that took an interest in me, and a year later, that became an extremely violent, vicious relationship. I'm 10, he's 20, and a year later he rescued me. And I had a near-death experience, so you could say that I didn't survive. I had an extremely big near-death experience.
All these people should be held accountable for all that was done to you. So sorry to hear that you went through this.
Wow, we know the actual date that Jesus was crucified. You can't tell me what the Bible says isn't real.
We know the actual day that Jesus was crucified. We can narrow it down to where we're pretty sure of it. So for instance, we know that it's during the reign of Pilate, which is between 26 and 36 AD. We know that he's crucified on a Friday because he has to be rushed down from the cross because Sabbath is about to begin. We know it's during Passover. And when you put all of those things together, there's two options. You've got April 7th of 30 AD or April 3rd of 33 AD. There's good evidence that it's the later date because Pilate's really concerned about Tiberius Caesar's mood, which favors the later date. And when you plug, by the scripture gives us clues that says the moon will be turned to blood on that day. Well, that's actually a technical term for a type of eclipse where the light of the sun gets redshifted around the earth and turns the moon red. And when you look up April 3rd, 33 AD in NASA records, sure enough, there's a partial eclipse that happens right then at 3 p.m., which is the precise moment that Jesus dies on the cross.
If it is 33 AD, then the year 2033 is going to be significant. What do you think?
Second, this is a weird one. The most important measurement on your entire body is the distance between your earlobe and your shoulder. This distance right here. Watch. If I were to do this in the interview the entire time, if I were to have a very small distance between my earlobe and my shoulder, I would look anxious. I would also have a really hard time giving you vocal power. You would have a hard... Do you trust me?
They look nervous.
Right. I look nervous. There's a direct correlation between confidence and anxiety and the distance between our shoulder and our earlobe. And very quickly, we're trying to just assess someone the first few seconds of seeing them. We're trying to assess how confident are you? Can I catch it? We don't like people who are anxious. We don't want to talk to someone like this because we don't want to catch that anxiety, but we do want to talk to someone who has the max distance between their earlobes and their shoulder.
This interview was so full of bangers. It's crazy.
Guys, remember this being that I've been mentioning? I made 2 videos about this one being. I, myself, and a cousin of mine, we were actually attending a funeral of a family member of ours where my mom is actually from. And we saw 3 of these things literally standing next to somebody's tombstone. And last night, I'm having a conversation with my mom, and I asked her, how's your brother, the one who's in Haiti, the one who still lives in Benin, which is the little suburb where my mom was born and from? she said, you know, like he's doing good, but you know, like obviously his wife has been sick. I already mentioned, you know, like that in some of my videos, and she's doing better now. But he actually spotted one of them, literally standing right next to one of our family tombstone, just standing there. And these beings, the way I described it, when I saw that, looks exactly like that. Fat head, big eyes, like almost like no arms, like a tiny, like kind of like a T-Rex or something, but then standing on one leg. And then they smell like crazy. That's why, like, when my mom used to tell me stories about these beings, if you smell like this strong goat smell, take off, run for your life. So you know what that means? That means these beings actually still haunt, you know, that little area of Haiti. They're still there. And the way that, like, my mom described, they actually preys on their victim. They actually like beat on them. They stomp on them. You know, like before they even like take the, you know, like the body and do whatever they want to do with it. And they're very strong, the way my mom described it. And like the noise that they make, it's just like something like it will literally freak you out. You'll have goosebumps hearing something like this. So yeah, my uncle actually told my mom the other day that, like, yeah, he spotted one of those. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because my mom told me, because she knows that I make videos like this, and then she said, you know what, this could be, you know, like an information that you want to share with your followers. These type of things are actually real, and hopefully you guys actually believe me.
Man, there's a lot of going on in Haiti.
Jay-Z is, I believe, a billionaire who I'm sure has the high-priced lawyers, publicists, crisis management team, and I'm sure that after giving this a lot of thought, they came up with this strategy, which they think is going to help them. And I think it's a sideshow. Go after the lawyer and not the woman accusing him. Let's remember, there is a woman accusing him of having sex with her when she was 13 years old, of raping her when she was 13 years old, alongside Sean Combs and a female celebrity. I find that detail very interesting. Who would add that in there if this was a false story? And it is not extortion to send a letter to somebody, we call it a demand letter, and say, here are allegations that my client has against you. We are going to file a lawsuit unless you would like to do a mediation and reach a settlement with us. That's what the lawyer did. That is something that I do all the time, that lawyers do all the time. Most people would prefer to have a settlement before the filing of a lawsuit, and that's why we do it. There's nothing illegal about it.
I don't know who he thinks he's fooling. Maybe his fans. They go crazy. They're sucking on it. Oh, it's gone. So, if the parasites eat the sugar, does that mean the sugar won't enter your bloodstream?
KKK, aren't they part of the white supremacy group?
I've been to their headquarters when I used to work in Shelton, and I've gone on their website. They simply said that they believe that white should remain white. They don't want to mix their race, and therefore they don't encourage interracial marriage. They want to, just like the Koreans are doing today, just like the Japanese and the Chinese and Indians all over. They don't affect anybody's life. What I'm trying to say is this: there are Asians who live Asians live in America. They're not white. We never find them on television crying that their business is not working well because of white supremacists. Middle Eastern people live in America. They're not white. Why is it that the white supremacists only affect black people and not the others who are not white?
So white supremacists don't go out and terror people. White supremacists don't go and lynch people. White supremacists don't go out and threaten people.
KKK Americans did lynch people in the South during the slavery. KKK burned torches on people's lawns because they don't want you to be in their neighborhoods. I would describe it that way. A group of people did that. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, but why do you keep saying white supremacists? So let me ask, maybe it's a grammar. When you say white supremacists, what do you mean?
A group of people who believe that they are superior than any other race.
So what does it mean when you repeat it, these white supremacists? What does it mean?
That's a good point.
When an intellectual is speaking, he knew what he was talking about.
China just made a train that goes faster than a plane to get between major cities in China, and now Elon Musk wants in on it, of course. So this train freaking levitates, and it's magnetic. I'm working on it since 2022, and they're about to launch. It operates by using electromagnetic fields, by the way. It's not propelled by anything. It doesn't touch anything to go. That sounds like pretty alien technology to me. And they've been reverse engineering shit, and it looks quite alien, but you know, whatever. Maybe they're just very inventive. It goes 1,000 kilometers per hour.
What? No way.
Again, this is not something, we don't just jump from point A to point Z. Okay, there's nothing in the middle of regular trains and then this. Yo, they reverse engineered something to make this work. Elon Musk wants in on the technology and he's willing to pay. And he wants to bring it to the US so that you can live in Kentucky, but go to New York City for your job in the morning like a regular commute. This is gonna be possible quickly. I mean, it's pretty cool, but also I need to know where you got this information.
We do have high-speed train now in Indonesia. The train can go up to 400 kilometers per hour. China helped us build it.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on right now. They're driving that price up because if you want your client and your famous actor to not be involved, or famous singer to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those, this is what I heard. They're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out. He does not want it to come out. Same thing for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the interesting thing about the Epstein and the theory about Epstein is we know he filmed people for sure on that island. He has a lot of movies, a lot of films of people that are very powerful political figures, and entertainers, business people. So, do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? Of course not. Of course not. Yeah. Okay, so there's other theories that he's in Lebanon. He never died at all. That having the weight of owning those films right now over people. So will Donald Trump release those films? I believe Donald Trump probably has a lot of friends that are in those videos too. I don't know if it behooves him to release them either. But what happens if iconic African Americans or iconic Japanese Americans or iconic Anglo Americans, former presidents, so what happens if they're in those videos? What does that do to the herding of the sheep? Because I believe that's exactly what we're experiencing.
How many Baldwins are there?
You could live your whole life and not know that the most shocking, profound thing in existence is 3 hits away. 3 hits away. And all of a sudden you're in a completely different universe in 20, 30 seconds. That's nuts. And the fact that that is dismissed, that people look at it as like, oh, you're just escaping reality, and you're just, like, it might be the source of civilization itself. It might be the source of language. It might be the source of the expansion of the human mind over a period of 2 million years, the doubling of the human brain over a period of 2 million years, which Terence McKenna felt directly coincides with the shifting of the tropical rainforest turning into grasslands, which would force these primates to experiment with new food sources, and these ungulate cows that were everywhere that would shit, and then these psilocybin mushrooms would grow in their shit. Observed primates flipping over these cow patties, looking for beetles and grubs and things to eat. It's everywhere. Like, you can see it all over Africa. If there's something on that, they're going to try it out. And if these things are trying it out, and they're doing this over a period of 2 million years, and they develop language and culture and weapons, and they start thinking about things, and they become different than every animal around them.
Just risking sanity.
When did you become a Christian? Shortly after moving here. I was disenfranchised with Christianity. I looked around England and the way society was collapsing and the way Christians behaved. Let's just say it started with versions of reality I saw like that. And I thought, you know, Christians don't really stand for anything anymore. I challenge any atheist to walk around Romania and just insult Jesus Christ. The Romanians stand for something. And I saw how Christianity holds this country together. The Romanian people are good people, and Christianity is what helps hold this society together. I fell back into Christianity by reading the Bible cover to cover 6 years ago. And it opened my eyes to what I was standing against as an atheist. And then look at atheists. Look at how the atheists behave. That's my team. I looked around and thought, these people don't represent me. Why am I saying I'm an atheist?
I'm not a Christian. I am a follower of Christ.
Unfortunately, a lot of us are only Christian in name, but it is changing for the better.
The devil is actually more comfortable hanging out in church than a bar. He was raised in a pretty holy place. He would prefer to go to church than a witch hunt or a group of witches. He already has them. He's after the genius that God wants to manifest through his people. And actually, because if you manifest the wisdom and the life of God, actually somebody who doesn't know him, who's doing what you do, it draws them in.
Even the devil can take the form of an angel of light.